The stars were quiet tonight. In the endless dark, a single white ship glided through the void, smooth, graceful, shining under the light of distant suns. Its name was Harmony, a diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Council. For years, it had carried peace across the stars, bringing together species that once fought wars no one remembered. Inside, everything was calm. The air was cool and clean. The soft hum of engines filled the corridors like a heartbeat. On the bridge, Captain Trell stood near the main view screen. His tall blue figure looked almost like glass under the soft white light. 4 calm eyes blinked one after another, slow, steady, thoughtful. He was a leader known for his logic and his patience. No one had ever seen him raise his voice. No one ever wanted to. Trell's crew worked quietly around him. 12 alien species, each with their own strange beauty. At the communication station sat Leah, her skin made of smooth green leaves that rustled gently when she moved. At navigation, a small furred creature tapped glowing controls with delicate claws. The sensor officer, Dex, was made of living stone. When he turned his head, faint cracks of light shimmered across his rocky skin. Different, strange, but together, they worked as one. Trell looked around the bridge with quiet pride. "It's a good day," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. Leah smiled, her voice musical and kind. "It has been a good year, Captain. No wars, no border disputes, no lost ships." "Yes," Trell replied, folding his hands behind his back. "For once, the galaxy seems to breathe in peace." He looked out at the stars, endless, cold, and silent. "But peace," he added in a low tone, "is fragile." For a few moments, nothing disturbed the stillness. The engines hummed. Lights blinked in quiet rhythm. Somewhere deep in the ship, the crew laughed and talked in different languages. Everything seemed ordinary. Until Leah frowned. A soft beep echoed from her console. She touched the control surface again. Then again. "Captain," she said slowly, "I'm picking up something." Trell turned, his 4 eyes narrowing slightly. "What kind of signal?" Leah hesitated. "A distress call, sir. Very weak. It's coming from the outer rim." The bridge fell silent. The outer rim, a wild edge of space far from the safety of the Council. Few ships went there willingly. It was where new colonies struggled to survive, where pirates hunted, and where help rarely came in time. "Put it on speakers," Trell said. A burst of static filled the air, sharp and broken. Then through the noise came a voice, trembling, desperate, barely holding together. "Help? Tech. Many dead, please?" The voice cracked and disappeared. Silence followed. Leah's leafy hands moved quickly. Signals fading. Trying to clean it up. The crew waited, tense and quiet. Dex's rocky fingers tapped the edge of his station. A low vibration rumbled through his chest, the sound his species made when uneasy. Leah looked up. "The signals from a Luminari colony, sir." Trell's expression darkened. The Luminari were known across the galaxy, gentle, peaceful telepaths who created music that could move hearts. They were artists, dreamers, healers. Not soldiers. "Show me," Trell said. The main screen flickered, revealing a small blue-green world orbiting a yellow sun. Scan data appeared beside it, red warnings flashing across the display. 3 large ships in orbit, Dex reported. Design matches Dread vessels. Every voice on the bridge went silent. The Dread were pirates. Ruthless. Efficient. They left nothing behind but wreckage and fear. No one wanted to meet them in open space, especially not an unarmed diplomatic ship. Trell's hands tightened behind his back. "How far are we?" 6 hours at maximum speed, Dex answered. 6 hours. Too far to help. Too far to watch. Too far to stop what was happening. The captain closed his eyes for a moment. "Send a message to the Council. Request immediate assistance." Leah shook her head, leaves trembling. "The nearest patrol is 3 days away." The silence grew heavy. Everyone knew what that meant. The Luminari would not last that long. A door opened behind them. Counselor Vex entered, his small gray form wrapped in the silver robes of the Council. His large black eyes darted around the bridge nervously. "They will die before help arrives," he said quietly. "We must do something." Trell looked at him. "We are diplomats, not warriors. What do you suggest?" Vex hesitated, his fingers trembling. "There is one possibility," he said softly. "We are not far from the restricted zone, Sector 7G. The moment he said it, the room went still. Every officer on the bridge looked up. Trell's voice dropped to a whisper. "Earth." The word carried weight, fear, legend, warning. "Humans. The Deathworlders. A species born on a planet filled with storms, poison, and predators. A place where everything tried to kill you, yet somehow humanity survived. And thrived. They have ships, Vex said quickly. And weapons. They are not part of the Council, Trell replied sharply. Contact is forbidden. And while we wait for permission, Vex countered, an entire colony dies. Leah's voice broke the silence. Sir, humans help each other. I've seen their broadcasts. Their stories. Stories? Another officer scoffed. You would trust savages with mercy? Trell turned back to the view screen. Fires were already burning across the Luminari colony. He could almost feel their pain, millions of voices crying out at once. Finally he spoke. Redirect the distress signal to Earth. Add translation codes and coordinates. Leah froze. Captain, that violates 6 Council laws. Trell's voice was calm. Then record my violation. I'll take full responsibility. She hesitated, then began to type. The signal jumped through channels, leaping across the stars. A soft hum filled the air as data flashed into the void. Trell stared into the darkness beyond the glass. Let's hope, he whispered, we've reached the right kind of monsters. And somewhere far away on a small blue planet, a signal began to play. On a quiet night over Earth, the sky above the Atlantic Ocean glowed faintly with orbiting satellites. Among them floated a single black ship, the UHS Valkyrie, a patrol vessel of the United Human Systems. Inside the command deck, Captain Sarah Hale sat with her boots on the console, sipping cold coffee, bored out of her mind. Nothing ever happened anymore. War was history. The colonies were quiet. Humanity had grown tired of fighting itself. Status? She asked lazily. Normal, Captain, replied her first officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel. No contacts, no emergencies, no pirates, no fun. Sarah smirked. You'll miss these boring days when something actually happens. Patel laughed. If something actually happens, I'll start praying. He didn't know he'd have to, soon. The signal. The console suddenly beeped. Not loud. Not alarming. Just a soft pulse of static, almost like a whisper. Captain, Patel said, frowning. Picking up a transmission, a weird frequency. Sarah lowered her boots. Source. Unknown. It's old-school analog. Fuzzy. It's coming from outside our communication grid. She raised an eyebrow. Outside our grid? How far? Patel stared at his screen. Try way outside. This isn't a colony channel. It's... He paused. Captain, this signal isn't human. The bridge went silent. Even the background hum of the engine seemed to fade. Sarah leaned forward. Put it through. The speakers crackled. Help, attack, many dead, please. Then static. Everyone on the bridge froze. Sarah felt a chill crawl down her spine. The voice was alien, weak, distorted, but unmistakably real. Run it again, she ordered. Patel obeyed. The message replayed, broken and desperate. It's repeating, he said. Someone's still transmitting. Sarah stood up. Can we trace it? Trying. It's bouncing through several relay points, none of them human. Patel's hands moved fast over the controls. Hold on, I got partial coordinates. Outer system. Unknown sector. Sarah turned to the science officer. Cross-check it. The officer's eyes widened. Captain, that's not one of ours. It's way beyond mapped human space. The decision. Sarah folded her arms. So, someone out there is dying and somehow their call reached us. Patel looked uneasy. Could be a trap. Maybe, she said quietly. Or maybe someone's really in trouble. She looked out through the viewport. Earth glowed below, a peaceful blue marble in the dark. How far would we go, she asked softly, to help someone we've never met? No one answered. The question hung in the air like smoke. Finally she said, patch it to command. The response center, Earth Orbit Command. Minutes later, the Valkyrie's transmission reached Earth Orbit Command, a massive ring station floating above the equator. In its command hall, Admiral Marcus Reeves watched the decoded signal play on a holoscreen. The alien voice filled the room. Help, attack, many dead. Origin. Reeves demanded. Unknown sector, replied the technician. Not on any official charts. Signal strength decreasing. Reeves frowned. So, an alien distress call, directed at us. The room fell silent. Humanity's first confirmed contact in over 30 years, and it was a cry for help. The Admiral turned to his communication officer. Did we respond? Not yet, sir. We don't even know who they are. Reeves stared at the holographic map. Beyond the borders of human space, beyond the black zones marked unexplored, blinked a single red dot. Maybe it's time we find out, he said. The War Council. Hours later, in a high-security chamber aboard the station, the United Human Systems Council gathered, generals, diplomats, scientists, and representatives from the colonies. The atmosphere was tense. Admiral Reeves stood before them. A non-human distress call reached our network 3 hours ago. We've confirmed it's genuine. We don't know how it got here, but it did. He pressed a button, and the desperate voice echoed through the room again. Help, attack, many dead. When the audio ended, silence filled the chamber. One of the diplomats spoke first. We don't know their politics, their history, their weapons. If we interfere. Reeves cut him off. If we don't, they die. Another voice rose, a scientist. Admiral, this signal's energy pattern matches what we've seen in theoretical quantum communication. Faster than light data transfer. Whoever sent it is advanced. Reeves nodded. Then they're advanced and desperate. The council's president, an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward. You're suggesting we go to an unknown region of space, to help aliens we've never met? Yes, ma'am, Reeves replied. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. And if it's a trap? Reeves paused. Then we deal with it the human way. She studied him. And what way is that? He smiled faintly. We bring a fleet. The call to arms. Within hours, orders spread across the network. From the lunar docks to Mars shipyards, the human expeditionary fleet began to wake. Engines powered up. Cargo bays filled with supplies. Weapons systems went through checks. The once silent black ships came alive, one by one. On the Valkyrie, Captain Sarah watched the activation orders scroll across her console. Captain Hale, Reeves' voice came through the comm, you found the signal. You're leading the first response group. Sarah straightened. Understood, sir. What's our directive? Simple, Reeves replied. Find who called for help. And remind the galaxy what humanity does when someone screams into the dark. The channel closed. Patel looked at her, half grinning, half afraid. Guess we're the good guys now. Sarah smirked. Let's hope they see it that way. The launch. The engines of the Valkyrie roared to life. Outside the windows the earth slowly turned below them, calm, unaware. All ships, Sarah said into the intercom, prepare for FTL jump. Set course for unknown coordinates. Let's bring hope to whoever's out there. The countdown began. The hum of the engines grew louder. 7. Stars stretched into lines of light. 4, 3, 1. And with a flash of white, the Deathworlders' fleet vanished into hyperspace. Somewhere, far beyond human space, the Luminari were still calling for help. They didn't know it yet. But monsters were coming. Monsters who called themselves human. The stars twisted back into focus as the Valkyrie dropped out of hyperspace. For a second the crew was silent, staring at the endless black. Then on the main screen a planet appeared. Blue, green, beautiful, but scarred with streaks of fire. Confirmed visual, Patel said softly. That's the source world. Sarah Hale stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the image. Status. Energy readings off the charts, replied the science officer. 3 enemy ships in orbit, unidentified but heavily armed. Smaller vessels attacking ground settlements. No friendly signals detected. Sarah clenched her jaw. So we're late. Patel glanced at her. Orders, Captain? She didn't answer right away. The Luminari's world filled the view screen. Smoke rising into orbit, flashes of battle lighting the night side. Finally she said, open a wideband channel. All frequencies. Patel hesitated. You want to talk to them? I want everyone to know we're here. He nodded, activating the comm channel open. Sarah took a breath. Her voice was calm, clear, and cold. This is Captain Sarah Hale of the United Human Systems vessel Valkyrie. Cease fire immediately or you will be engaged. Her words echoed across the dark, simple, direct, and terrifying. The alien perspective. Far below, on the Luminari colony, Captain Trell stood among smoke and broken glass inside a damaged command post. His once white uniform was burned and torn. The building shook with another impact from above. Around him, his surviving officers struggled to keep communications alive. We've lost half the colony, one shouted. Evacuation ships destroyed, cried another. Trell's head dropped. It was too late. The dread had come for everything, and there was no one left to stop them. Then Leah, her leafy skin now covered in ash, gasped at the console. "Captain, look!" The sky outside flashed white. A shadow crossed the clouds, sleek, dark, fast. Something had entered orbit. "Identify," Trell ordered. "Unknown signature," Leah said quickly. "Metal composition, human origin." Trell froze. His heart skipped a beat. "Humans?" he whispered. The dread ships reacted first. They turned their guns toward the new arrival. The Valkyrie came in low, its hull black against the stars, engines glowing blue. The first strike. "Targeting systems locked," Patel said. "Load rail cannons," Sarah ordered. "Ma'am, we're outnumbered 3-1, Patel reminded. She smiled faintly. "Then we'll make it quick." The ship vibrated as massive coils charged with magnetic energy. Fire. Twin flashes erupted from the Valkyrie's cannons. 2 silver streaks cut through space, hitting the first dread ship square in the hull. The explosion was silent but bright enough to blind the sensors. Shards of burning metal scattered like sparks across the void. The second dread ship turned to engage. "Missiles incoming," yelled the weapons officer. "Countermeasures," Sarah said. Flares shot out like falling stars. The missiles exploded harmlessly behind them. Return fire. The Valkyrie's secondary guns roared to life, bursts of plasma lighting the dark. The second pirate ship split apart, breaking into spinning fragments. The last dread ship fled. "Should we pursue?" Patel asked. Sarah shook her head. "No. They've seen enough." She opened the comm again. "To whoever sent that SOS, this is Captain Hale. You're safe now." The meeting. Hours later, the smoke over the colony began to clear. The Valkyrie descended slowly through the clouds, engines whispering. On the ground, Trell and his surviving officers waited near the ruins of their main building. None of them spoke. None of them dared. They had heard stories of humans, unstoppable, brutal, wild. Now, as the ship landed before them, they finally saw what the legends meant. The air shimmered with heat as the ramp lowered. 3 figures stepped out, armored in matte black suits, their helmets reflecting firelight. They moved like predators, silent and sure. The lead figure removed her helmet. Sarah's human face was calm but sharp, eyes cold and focused. Trell took one cautious step forward. "You are human?" Sarah nodded. "And you're the ones who called for help." Her voice carried no pride, no arrogance, only quiet strength. Trell bowed slightly. "We had no right to contact your world. It was forbidden." Sarah looked around at the destroyed city. "Looks like you didn't have much of a choice." Leah stepped closer, her voice soft. "We didn't think anyone would answer." Sarah's gaze softened just a little. "You called. We heard." Behind her, Patel and 2 soldiers scanned the area, checking for survivors and hostile signals. The galaxy reacts. Far away in the halls of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Emergency meetings. Confused diplomats. Angry voices echoing through the Grand Chamber. "The Deathworlders violated the restricted zone," shouted one delegate. "They interfered in council affairs. They destroyed 3 vessels." At the center of it all stood Counselor Vex, the one who had convinced Trell to send the signal. He faced the furious assembly without regret. "You call them Deathworlders," Vex said quietly, "but tell me, what do you call those who ignored a cry for help?" The chamber fell silent. On the massive screen behind him, live footage from the Luminari world played, humans distributing supplies, helping the wounded, repairing structures. They were strong, efficient, fearless, and they looked nothing like the monsters the council once described. The new fear. Back on the colony, Trell stood beside Sarah, watching the sunrise over the broken horizon. "You saved us," he said. "At great risk." Sarah shook her head. "We didn't save you. We just did what anyone should." He looked at her thoughtful. "You don't understand what you've done. The council will not ignore this." Sarah smiled faintly. "Let them come talk. We don't scare easy." Above them, more human ships appeared in the sky, reinforcements from the fleet, forming a protective formation around the planet. Leah looked up in awe. "They sent so many?" Sarah's voice was quiet. "We don't leave people behind." The camera would slowly pan out, showing the human ships standing guard around the wounded world, while alien ships watched from a distance in silence. The narrator's final words for this part. The galaxy had whispered about Deathworlders for centuries, monsters born from chaos. But now the galaxy would learn something far more terrifying. Monsters can be heroes too. The galaxy was not at peace anymore. News of what happened on the Luminary colony spread faster than light itself. Every major network, every government, every species was talking about the same thing. The humans had returned. For centuries, Earth had been a ghost world, sealed off and avoided. The Council had labeled it a death world, too dangerous, too unpredictable, too human. And yet, the impossible had happened. The Deathworlders had crossed the line, entered Council space, and saved a colony. For the first time in history, the galaxy didn't know whether to fear or thank them. The Council summons. Inside the shining halls of Galactic Council Station Aurelius, delegates from hundreds of species argued, shouted, and accused. The air was thick with noise and tension. They broke every law of contact, shouted a reptilian representative, his scaled tail slamming the floor. They interfered in a council matter, added a feathered avian from the Vexery Collective. Interfered? Replied Councillor Vex, voice calm but firm. They saved lives. Something we failed to do. The chamber erupted again. At the center, the Supreme Chancellor raised a hand for silence. Her silver skin reflected the light of the room. Her voice was cold. Enough. The humans have been summoned to answer for their actions. They are already en route. A ripple of unease swept through the chamber. The thought of Deathworlders walking into the heart of the Council was enough to make even the bravest species uneasy. Arrival of the Deathworlders. 3 days later, a dark human cruiser appeared outside the Council station. Its arrival caused half the station's defense fleet to raise weapons immediately. Identification confirmed, said a trembling officer. UHS Valkyrie human flagship. On board, Captain Sarah Hale stood before her crew. Her black uniform was spotless, her face unreadable. Patel adjusted his gloves nervously. They don't seem happy to see us, Captain. They'll get over it, Sarah replied flatly. Or they won't. Either way, we're here. Her ship docked. The airlock sealed with a hiss. As the ramp lowered, alien guards lined the corridor, each holding weapons that shook slightly in their hands. Sarah and her team walked forward, slow and calm, not saying a word. Their footsteps echoed, steady, heavy, human. The confrontation. The council chamber was massive, a grand dome filled with light and sound. Hundreds of eyes turned toward the humans as they entered. Some stared with curiosity, others with fear, a few with hate. Sarah stopped in the center of the room, surrounded by holographic flags of alien empires. The Supreme Chancellor rose from her seat. Captain Sarah Hale of Earth, she said slowly, do you understand that your actions have violated 6 major council directives? I do, Sarah answered. Her voice was calm, respectful, but not submissive. And yet you interfered, the Chancellor continued. Why? Sarah met her gaze. Because someone asked for help. The chamber buzzed with noise again. Murmurs, anger, disbelief. You attacked council-recognized vessels, shouted a delegate. You destroyed property. Sarah's tone hardened. Those vessels were pirates killing civilians. You call that property? The delegate recoiled, speechless. Vex, standing among the council seats, spoke quietly. You saved the Luminari from extinction. Their pain was shared across their entire species. You stopped that pain. Sarah nodded once. That was the point. The Chancellor's expression didn't soften. Captain Hale, you must understand, humans are forbidden to interfere for a reason. Your history, your violence. Sarah interrupted gently. Our violence built peace. Our struggle built survival. You call us Deathworlders. Maybe you're right. But when people scream for help, Deathworlders answer. Her words echoed through the chamber like thunder. Reactions. Some delegates whispered to each other in awe. Others stared in silent rage. Trell, watching from a distance, felt something stir in his chest. A strange mix of fear and respect. The Luminari survivors had told stories of humans fighting fire with fire, risking their own lives to save strangers. They were dangerous, yes, but they were also good. The Chancellor leaned back slowly. Earth will remain under observation. You are not to cross into council space again without approval. Sarah gave a faint smile. Then you'd better keep your space safe. Before anyone could respond, she turned and began to walk out. Her boots echoed again, that same slow, steady rhythm. No one stopped her. No one dared. Behind closed doors. Later, in a private chamber, several high-ranking council members met in secret. They're too powerful, said one. We must prepare defenses. Defenses? Another scoffed. Against humans? We've seen what one ship can do. They must be contained, hissed the reptilian delegate. If they spread beyond their system, no one will stop them. Vex listened quietly. Then he spoke. Or maybe we stop fearing them and start learning from them. The others turned toward him in disbelief. They are unpredictable, he continued. But they are also united. Determined. They fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is not weakness. That is strength. The chamber fell silent again. For the first time, someone had said it aloud. Maybe the Deathworlders weren't monsters. Maybe they were something far worse. A reminder of what the galaxy used to be. A message to Earth. Back aboard the Valkyrie, as the ship prepared to leave orbit, Sarah received a transmission. It was from Trell, the blue-skinned captain of the Harmony. "Captain Hale," he said, his voice humble. "On behalf of my people, thank you. Without you we would be gone." Sarah nodded slightly. "You would have done the same for us." Trell hesitated. "I'm not sure we would have had the courage." Sarah's eyes softened. "Courage isn't something you have, Captain. It's something you do." The transmission ended. The departure. The Valkyrie turned slowly, its engines glowing bright against the Council Station's light. As it moved away, hundreds of alien ships watched, silent, still. To some, the humans were saviors. To others, a threat that could not be ignored. But one truth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Deathworlders were back. And this time, they weren't coming to conquer. They were coming to protect. The narrator's closing words for this part. The Council feared their strength. The weak feared their past. But every world that ever felt helpless looked up to the stars. And hoped the humans would come when the next SOS was sent. Weeks passed after the humans' arrival and departure. But peace didn't return. Instead, fear began to grow, silent, slow, like cracks spreading through glass. Across the Galactic Council worlds, whispers filled the air. Every news channel repeated the same headline. Deathworlders defy the Council. Some called them saviors. Others called them a coming storm. Inside the grand halls of Station Aurelius, the leaders of the galaxy met again. But this time their words were colder, and their plans darker. The secret meeting. The Supreme Chancellor sat at the head of the circular chamber, surrounded by shadows. Only 6 others were present, the most powerful species in the galaxy. Each spoke for an empire. Each carried centuries of fear and pride. "They have crossed the line," said Corthan, the scaled warlord of the Drow Dominion. "Humans ignore our laws. Next time they may not save a colony, they may take one." "They are unpredictable," hissed Sathyra, a telepath from the Vexery Collective. "I touched the mind of one during the conference. It was chaos. Violence and compassion, mixed together. I could barely stand it." The Chancellor steepled her fingers. "And yet they succeeded where we failed. Billions saw that." "That is the danger," Corthan growled. "They are not just strong. They inspire." Silence fell. Inspiration was something every empire feared, because it led to rebellion. A dangerous plan. "They must be contained," Sathyra said. "Earth must remain isolated. Surveillance drones. Weapon embargoes. No trade, no travel." Corthan nodded slowly. "And if they resist?" The Chancellor's eyes hardened. "Then the Council will be forced to act." A faint tremor went through the chamber, not from the station but from guilt. They all knew what that meant. Another war. The Chancellor ended the session quietly. "Begin preparations." Quietly. "We cannot let the Deathworlders grow unchecked." On Earth, far away in the solar system's quiet void, the planet Earth turned under golden sunlight. Blue oceans, green forests, endless cities. Alive, strong, rebuilding after centuries of isolation. In orbit, the human defense fleet floated like a steel constellation. At its heart, the UHS Valkyrie, flagship of Captain Sarah Hale. She stood on the observation deck, looking down at her world. Her face was calm, but her mind restless. "They'll come," said Commander Patel beside her. Sarah didn't answer. He continued softly, "You saw their faces. They'll never trust us." Sarah finally spoke. "They fear what they don't understand. But fear can't stop truth." Patel frowned. "And what truth is that?" She turned toward him. "That humanity isn't the monster they remember. We're something new. Something the galaxy needs." The radio crackled suddenly, a deep voice calling from command. "Captain, incoming message. It's from Captain Trell of the Harmony." The warning. Trell's hologram appeared, slightly flickering. He looked tired and worried. "Captain Hale," he said. "The Council is planning something. My sources say they're building ships near the neutral zones. They call it a defensive measure." Sarah crossed her arms. "Defensive against what?" "You," Trell said quietly. Silence. Only the hum of the ship filled the room. Thank you for the warning, Sarah said. But if they come, we'll be ready. Trell's eyes softened. You shouldn't have to be. You saved us. The Luminari are rebuilding because of you. I'll try to speak for Earth at the next assembly. Sarah nodded. Do that. Because if they push too far, it won't be diplomacy next time. Trell understood. The line went dead. The hidden weapon. Meanwhile, deep within the Drow Dominion, engineers worked in secret. Massive shipyards glowed with activity, rows of dark warships under construction. Each hull bore new technology, plasma weapons designed specifically to counter human armor. Admiral Corthan walked through the smoke-filled factory, his voice echoing. When the Deathworlders rise, we will already be ready. A scientist trembled. Sir, what if they detect the buildup? Corthan smiled coldly. Then we'll tell them it's for protection. Humans understand lies, they've mastered them. The calm before the war. Back on Earth, Sarah watched the night sky through the viewport. The stars were quiet. The universe seemed peaceful. But she could feel it, a storm was coming. Patel approached quietly. Fleet Command wants to expand the frontier patrols. They think someone's moving ships near the border. Sarah didn't turn away from the window. Let them. The more they move, the more they reveal. Patel hesitated. You think they'll really attack us? Sarah finally looked at him, her eyes steady. They won't attack first, she said. They'll wait for a reason. So we'll give them none. But if they do? Sarah's gaze hardened. Then the galaxy will finally understand why humans survived a death world. Across the stars. In the Luminari sector, survivors rebuilt their cities. Children played under silver skies again. But every home displayed a new symbol, a small human flag beside their own. They called it a sign of gratitude. In a speech broadcast across the galaxy, the Luminari leader said, We live because the humans came when no one else did. They are not monsters. They are protectors. And we will stand with them if the Council turns against them. The Council chambers erupted in outrage. One world's loyalty had shifted, and others might follow. The final scene, cliffhanger. Inside her quarters aboard the Valkyrie, Sarah stood before a small screen, reading a message from Earth Command. It contained only 5 words. Prepare for possible first strike. Her jaw tightened. She closed the message, turned toward the stars. Narrator voice, ending line. The SOS had once called for help. Now the galaxy was sending a different kind of signal, one of fear. And once again the Deathworlders were listening. Music rises, low, tense, heroic. Camera pulls away from Earth, showing fleets preparing quietly in orbit. Fade to black. The galaxy stood on the edge of war. Every world felt the tension, silent, cold, waiting. Trade routes slowed. Fleets moved under coded silence. In the shadows, the Galactic Council prepared for what they called the Containment Initiative. But in truth, it was fear turned into a weapon. The Council's secret plan. In the deep vaults beneath Station Aurelius, the Council's admirals gathered around a holographic display. Blue lights shimmered, showing the outline of Earth and its orbiting fleets. The humans are expanding, said Admiral Sathira, her voice low and sharp. They are building new colonies on the edges of neutral zones. We cannot allow their influence to spread further. Admiral Corthan's claws clicked against the table. They saved the Luminari once. Now half their trade runs through Earth. If this continues, the Council's power will collapse. The Chancellor raised a hand. Then we must act before they unite others. She turned to a black sphere floating above the table, a new kind of weapon. Project name Erebus. It's a containment field generator, explained the scientist beside her. Once activated, it can trap an entire star system, cutting off power, communication, and light itself. We will surround Earth. No blood, no war, only silence. Corthan smiled grimly. And if they resist? The scientist hesitated. Then the field can collapse the star. Silence filled the room. The plan was no longer about containment. It was about destruction. On Earth, the discovery. Inside the orbital ship Valkyrie, Captain Sarah Hale stared at streams of data. Commander Patel's face was pale. We intercepted their transmission. They're building something near the Denker Nebula. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Erebus, she whispered. A weapon designed to kill stars. Patel swallowed. If they deploy it, Earth will be trapped, then burned. Sarah turned toward the window where Earth glowed peacefully below. Billions of people, unaware of the silent storm above. We warned them. We offered peace, she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. Now we show them what a death world really teaches. The War Council of Humanity. Within hours, the leaders of Earth's nations and space colonies gathered in the command hub. Old flags hung beside new ones. No one argued. No one hesitated. They all remembered the SOS, the day they helped the galaxy when no one else did. Admiral Vargas spoke first. They call us monsters. They call us unpredictable. But they forget why we fight. We fight because we survive the impossible. The room filled with a quiet determination, not anger, not hatred, purpose. Sarah stood and looked at every officer. They will come with a weapon of silence. Then we will answer with a message of light. She activated the holographic map, fleets forming across the solar system. Every ship ready. Every pilot waiting. Project name, Dawnfire. The battle begins. Days later, near the Denker Nebula, stars burned faintly through the mist. Out of the fog emerged hundreds of Council warships, dark, massive, and silent. At their center, the Erebus core, pulsing with a deadly red glow. A single message came through. Humans of Earth, stand down. Submit to containment. Resist and your world will vanish. Sarah Hale stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, eyes steady. Transmit reply, she said. Her message echoed through the void. You sent an SOS once, and we answered. Now you send a threat. Let's see if you can survive the answer. Her hand dropped. All ships, engage. The fire of Earth. The blackness of space erupted in light. Human warships burst from the shadows. Sleek, aggressive, moving with deadly precision. Kinetic rounds, plasma bursts, and rail cannons tore through the nebula. The Council fleets staggered under the sudden assault. The Valkyrie dove between enemy cruisers, engines screaming. Target the Erebus core. Sarah shouted. A massive explosion rocked the fleet, a Council dreadnought destroyed. But then the Erebus began to activate. The stars flickered. Light dimmed. A black sphere expanded, swallowing everything in silence. Shields collapsing. Patel yelled. Sarah's hands flew across the controls. Not yet. Redirect reactor output to the railguns. The ship shuddered. Power alarms blared. But the Valkyrie fired one last time, a glowing tungsten slug traveling faster than light. It hit the Erebus core dead center. The light returns. The darkness shattered. A blinding explosion ripped through the nebula, waves of blue energy spreading in all directions. Council ships were thrown off course, systems failing. In the chaos, Sarah's voice cut through the comms. Do not pursue. They've seen enough. As the light faded, the nebula glowed like a sunrise. The Council fleet was broken, not destroyed but humbled. The humans stood victorious but silent. Sarah watched from the bridge, her face unreadable. We could have destroyed them, Patel said quietly. She nodded. But we didn't. That's the difference between them and us. Aftermath. Weeks later, messages spread across the galaxy. The Luminari declared Earth a protectorate ally. Other worlds followed, slowly, cautiously. The Galactic Council met again, silent, defeated, unsure. The Chancellor looked at the stars outside the station window and whispered, they were never the monsters. We were, for thinking fear could control them. The final message. On Earth, Sarah Hale stood on a cliff above the Atlantic Ocean, wind blowing against her uniform. A small camera drone hovered nearby, recording her message to the galaxy. Her voice was calm, strong, and simple. You once called us Deathworlders, creatures of violence and chaos. But we are also the ones who build, protect, and endure. If you call for help again, we will still come. But this time come as friends, not as rulers. The broadcast spread across the stars, to friend and foe alike. Millions watched. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt something it had forgotten. Hope. Ending scene, cinematic finish. The camera drifts into space. The blue Earth glows brighter as the narrator's voice fades in. The SOS had reached the wrong species. Or perhaps the right one all along. Music swells, heroic and bittersweet. Fade to black. End of story.